Welcome to tonight's episode of the Dungeon Initiative. Happy Sunday, everybody, and also happy St. Patty's Day if you celebrate or have any festivities going on.
Yeah, you fucking potatoes.
Potato. I just realized this light is like really low. There we go. How are you guys doing today?
Not drunk yet.
Well, you should have been drunk already, right? It'll be alright. You don't need to drink. It's better that way.
I'm talking to you now. I do need it.
Oh, now you're speaking directly to me?
Yeah. You're the reason why I drink.
Does my DMing live in your nightmares?
I wouldn't say your DMing does. You as a person does.
God damn, bro. I'm a pretty cool person.
I love you.
I hope so. Well, here we are, guys. The official court hearing of the Dungeon Initiative. Oh boy, this is going to be crazy. So, anything we need to cover before we start? Anybody want to bring something up? Not D&D Beyond related. Alright. Well, on the previous session,
Hang on. One second. I do have something. Pasta
plug.
is just boiled bread. Thank you.
You mean, he's out of line, but he's right. Psychic damage 200.
You guys decided, let's see, to keep Ona along with you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you guys previously played, you arrived at the capital. Oddly enough, you guys were not disarmed upon coming into the Dungeon Initiative room. Instead, were led to the baths to kind of recover and clean yourselves up. One of you got involved with a mysterious woman within the castle ground.
Don't know who you're talking about.
Edard and LaFay, you both ran into some familiar faces. One that used to be in others. So you're currently leading to possibly speculate what's going on there. But yeah, anything I'm missing? I think we're pretty much, you guys got ready. You're set. You've been walked into the main hall where Godfrey and his council sits over you guys with the other lords and ladies behind you.
And Fenrir has a pigeon in a cage on his belt.
Small detail, yes. We forgot to mention that he did dig into the cabinet again, and he pulled out a little pigeon.
As it was.
Everyone perform a perception check for me.
I got a 14.
19.
26.
14, 19, and a 26, right?
I rolled a 9. And Zoe got a dirty 20.
Alright. So, if you rolled a 10 or lower, then you notice all the people coming in.
There's so many people here. Did we really make that much of a scene?
Oh no, randomly looks up at you and she says, "Why did you say that?"
Am I not allowed to speak?
No, you said something weird before, just now. You said, "Pasta's just boiled bread." Why would you say that?
How dare you?
While you're having this conversation, because you got a 10 or lower on this roll, anyone who got an 11, a 10 to 15, you can hear this conversation happening, and you also notice the people coming in. But you also would notice that whoever went to the bathhouses, you notice that the bald gentleman that you guys, I think you got his name, right? With the gentleman with Ashley.
Oh,
If you didn't get his name, that's okay.
I know it was like something Lockhart.
Lockhart. Okay. So you notice Lockhart there, along with Ashley, who's currently dressed in like this white outfit. She has her hair all tied up, crazy. It's like some crazy decoration. Sitting to the left of her is a troop of other women, and they all kind of like are matching her style, almost like they're her like attendants or her friends or something. But you're not entirely sure. They're heavily guarded. There's a bunch of men surrounding them currently. Unlike most of the other lords and ladies that are seated, they seem like they're lords and ladies of this capital. So they're random. They stick out to you guys especially. If you got a 16 to 20, you notice all of that. Let's see. Who got a 16 to 20?
I got a 30-20.
30 20?
I got a 19.
And
I think
then
everyone got that,
No.
except for
I
you.
got a 26.
And then you got a 26. Okay.
You got a 14, so we saw what you just mentioned.
So you noticed. I guess Hugh and Fenrir would notice the just the random people, and Fen, because you were at the Bast, you recognize Lord Lockhart along with Ashley.
Above that was Edard, LeFay, and Zoe.
So Edard and Zoe, you guys, LeFay not just yet. I'm gonna work something out here for her. Because LeFay would be noticing a lot of this already. Like, she's seen all the people coming in. She noticed Ashley and Lockhart. All three of you notice. LeFay, go ahead and roll a percentile die.
To see who gets stabbed.
Apologize. Is that just a D20?
Yeah, just a D20.
It's a D100.
Yeah, oh, sorry, D100, sorry. Didn't realize which one.
I got a 79.
That's really good.
Okay. So, Edard and Zoe, I need you to make a wisdom saving throw. As you look across the room, you see all the people. You kind of scan left, and you see to either to the left side of the double doors that lead into the hall.
Any advantage or anything on those?
If you have anything that'll give you advantage.
Alright, like, is it anything familiar at all?
She's not familiar, but she is striking. She definitely sticks out. She's not seated, especially. She's kind of between, like, you know, a wall and a guard.
I just rolled an 8, so.
Okay. And Zoe?
She rolled a 16.
So, let's see. LaFay, make the same check with advantage. So make a wisdom save with advantage. What'd you get?
13 was the best.
13? Okay. So Edward and Zoe, you guys, while you're scanning the room, you notice that this woman, dressed in a light blue dress that fits her perfectly, long blonde hair intertwined with rosebuds going all the way through. Looking to her, you guys suddenly feel a sense of calm wash over you, and you feel confident and relaxed.
I don't like that.
In this time, you cannot willingly be or act aggressive.
Oh. Aha.
LaFay,
Does that mean everyone has to roll wisdom? Or that's
no,
just
because
us?
you two are the only ones who noticed her.
Okay.
Well, LaFay did too, but LaFay was also going to notice. Since you got a 26, LaFay, you noticed that a lot of the guards in the room, especially the heavier clad ones that are by the doors and along the walls and behind the king himself, they're all bearing the colors of Bloodscream. Some of them mix, especially near the doors, are Stormbane soldiers, especially the ones guarding the troop of women along with the Lord in the back. You notice that they all have a pin kind of attached to their cloth, kind of going over their shoulder, and it looks like the sigil of Palor. You also notice it on Godfrey. He has a bunch of different sigils along with his family crest, but that one is also embedded into his outfit. The mages that stand behind them as well have that pin. And as you're scanning the room and kind of noticing this, your eyes kind of cross with the blonde woman's. And you got a 16, you said?
Me?
Yeah.
13.
13? So yeah, you, as soon as you're like kind of scanning the room, you see this sigil along with all the other people mentioned. You cross eyes with her and you suddenly feel this calm wash over you, and then kind of this feeling of confidence and relaxed in your position. And again, this will last for about an hour, and in that time you cannot willingly be or act aggressive. Hugh and Fenrir, you guys are immune to this because you did not notice her.
Yeah, dumb bitch. I only get eyes from one woman.
Yeah.
Out of character, is this the? I feel like I know what spell this is, but I don't want to say it out loud.
It's the spell
Night
of a note.
spell.
It's a spell of a note that I took earlier.
It was written.
As it was written.
Lisa Nagai.
You guys see that there is like a podium set up on the stage, essentially insinuating that the lords seated in front of you are going to stand and come to the podium. Godfrey turns his attention down to down his right side. Again, seated to his right, you guys see Lord Rosegold seated there, and then following after that, let's see where to go. You guys see that gentleman from before, the Bloodscream member. He's seated there, and then to his right is a gnomish figure, kind of clad in this tribal warrior getup. And seated to Godfrey's left, you notice that Jade is there. She does kind of like scan you guys, and she kind of looks at you and smirks a little bit. But when Godfrey kind of like nods over to Bloodscream like sighs, rolls his eyes, and he just kind of sits forward and looks at all of you. His eyes go from scanning all of you to then centering right on you, Eddard. And he goes on to say, "Do you assume leadership of this group?"
I guess so.
When all of this initiative business started, was it your idea or was it something brought to you?
Sorry, DM, repeat that.
Was this all your idea, the formulation of this group, or was this created by other members? And he kind of turns his attention to Omen and Jim, who are also seated next to you guys.
When the Dungeon Initiative was formed, it was done so by my father, Engelhart Stormbane, and with the assistance of Omen and Jim from the Acquisitions Incorporated.
What was its sole intent?
To protect these lands from threats within it and beyond.
Do you all act on your own accord? Or do you respond to actual threats to the capital?
Normally we respond to any threats to anyone.
Ki Azul, the gnome leader, he raises a hand and he says, apologies to interject, but they all seem a little too well armed, don't we think? And anyone who is still carrying your weaponry, and especially if it's in the present, he does kind of address all of you, specifically. Godfrey, sitting up, says,
What is there like hidden?
Like a stick.
And where is the weapon?
I can also be considered a weapon.
If you left your weaponry and anything obvious that could be used as a club or anything like that, it's been moved. Like you've kept it, back in your room, right? Otherwise, if you did show up at the hearing and it is obvious, then Ki Azul is specifically asking if you guys have been checked for this. And he goes on to say, also, isn't it tradition for the people on trial to have manacles? And there are a couple of guards behind the throne that kind of shift and grab at their waistline. You hear the chain links of some shackles being moved around. Bloodscream, you can, if anybody wants to make an insight check here, you can. He looks back at the soldiers, and then back at you guys.
I got a 24.
If you got above a 15, you catch, when he looks back at the guards, there's kind of a small smirk, like he just kind of got you guys on something. Then he looks back at all of you and he says, well, he looks back at you, Edard. If you guys cooperate with the Capitol and your protectors, it should be no problem to relieve your weapons and obey the law. Don't you think? Godfrey looks at you as well.
Kind of looking over at the group. Do I see any weapons on anyone there?
I mean, Fenrir is not a weapon user.
Zoe left hers in the room.
Mine were
Mine's very
disappeared.
My weapon disappeared?
Mine were disappeared because I fucking was talking with what's his face and he's like magically poofed them away.
Weapons away?
Jim took my shit.
Yeah, so as far as you know, Hugh, you don't know exactly where your weapon is. But the rest of
Nope.
you, like, aside from who's already looking at you all, Omen and Jim are kind of, like, looking at you guys. Jim has this, like, look of confidence, like, my guys know how to do their job. You know, he's not worried about you guys. Omen seems to have that tinge of, like, as he looks right over at Hugh, specifically.
I already gave you all my stuff.
Godfrey raises a hand and like waves it forward, and there's 6 soldiers kind of go up and they approach the table where you stand on, and they ask you to raise your wrists.
No.
Is this really necessary? Are we prisoners?
I didn't realize you were being convicted of a felon of some kind. I thought we were here to discuss things.
It's all traditional. This is all part of the hearing. We're not changing any laws until then, and you have not exactly been found guilty.
So why are we being put into shackles based on your rules?
Godfrey tilts his head in your direction. He says, "Because I'm asking you to."
Let's just keep them comfortable. And I'll put my wrist out.
Big enough.
The guard who shackles you, he like clips them on, locks them in place, and he like bows his head, turns off. Zoe, you accept it?
She'll just give like that like soft smile, and she'll just like raise her hands to be shackled.
Yep, they go ahead and they do
Faye
that.
is not doing it yet. She's just staring at them like.
But
I would
when
say
you
like very.
look at Zoe LaFay, you would see that her eyes are looking at you like that mother look of do what you're told and don't start crap right now.
And she's also very.
She's
angry.
also smiling.
She's
She's
also
just
very angry.
internally angry.
One of the guards, he's looking at Ona, and he like looks back at Godfrey, and Godfrey just waves his hand, and he's like, "She's not even supposed to be here." And the guard just kind of backs away, and Ona just kind of flicks her tongue out.
Go over there with Omen and Jim.
I want to stand next to you. She like sees the look on your face, and she walks on over to Jim and Omen. Fen,
Yeah,
accepting the shackles.
if they can fit.
They most definitely do their best.
They connect
And
4 of them.
what they end up having to do is they take the links that we're gonna go on Ona, and they clip them into each other over your wrist.
Wait, they have child-size handcuffs?
No, they don't. That's why he was just like,
Are
this
they the bad guys?
doesn't make any
Oh
sense.
God.
Hugh, the guard stepping up to you.
I'll put my wrists out, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and attempt to break the shackles. Like, just pull them apart.
This gentleman, as he's like putting the clasps on you, he leans in. He says, "Just keep your head, man. We all believe in you. At least the few of us that are around left." And he like clicks it together and backs away, bows, and he goes back to his station. There's a kind of air of relief that kind of washes over from behind you guys. Almost like the lords and ladies are at ease now. You can hear some
I didn't
people.
realize a room this heavily guarded was afraid of 5 people.
You say that out loud?
Kind of saying it to like the group.
Bloodscream, kind of seeing you whispering, he leans forward and he says, "Is there something you wish to say?"
No, Lord Bloodscreen.
Was that sarcasm, my attempts? I don't think that that would bode well for you and your friends right now. We're simply asking
I'm
for
not used to being in groups like this without it being a battle.
That's interesting. As a prince of the Stormbane name, were you not the heir in line?
Looking over at Godfrey's. Yes, that's the case. Yeah.
Godfrey, like his eyes like go from looking at you to like down like at the table in front of him, and you can tell that he's like definitely struggling with what's going on in his mind right now. And to this, Arnold just kind of scoffs and he says, "All your brothers made foolish choices to enter the battle with your father." Godfrey looks over at him, like kind of like a warning look.
I'm staring right at him also.
And he like kind of puts his hand up, like, you know, had they all perished, what would you have done then? While you're gallivanting around with this little group of yours, making choices for the people, what would happen? Because I hear it, even your sister was on the battlefield. Is this the mind of sound leaders? Well,
I can't really tell you what I would have done if they all went out there. The fact that 3 made it out was a miracle in itself. But even though I don't stand by them all being there, they all made their own choices without my knowledge.
it seems like a lot of things seem to be happening without your knowledge or out of your control all the time, don't they, Edward Stormbane?
Well, it's a big world. A lot of things are happening without my knowledge.
Hugh leans over to Fen. I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy one bit.
We can go with it for now.
I can only make based off the knowledge that I have given.
So far, we've heard stories, these reports you make of great threats. And I've been around a lot longer than you to say that maybe you're just a misguided boy who ran away from his duty. Your true
How
calling.
old is this guy? How old is this guy that's talking that hard?
I'd say around in his 60s.
I scoff and laugh at a child.
Noticing you scoff, he looks you over and he says, "And what name do you carry?"
None yet.
What a representation.
Hugh's not. This isn't the time for all that.
Even Omen like kind of looks over at you, Hugh, and he's just like, "Don't fall for his shit. Just answer the questions."
I plead the fifth.
The panel just kind of looks over each other. There's some whispers going on from behind you guys. The direction that that Bloodscream takes, he just kind of like shakes his head, sits back in his seat, and he goes, "I have nothing else to say."
Good.
And Godfrey stands and he kind of takes a step forward, and he says, "Despite the great actions of the initiative, many people have lost a lot during your endeavors. Farmers, towns. What was your full involvement in the Battle of Knot?"
Trying to remember.
According to record, you were not asked to report there or defend that area. What motivated the initiative to take action?
If I remember correctly, a former member, Johnny, what was his last name again?
Dover.
Johnny Dover. He wanted to investigate the fires up north, as him being a druid, they were destroying lots of woodland areas, and we got caught up in the whole other thing.
Key sits up, the gnome. Let me see. He chimes in and he says, "You were later reported to have gone north, deep into the north. Is that correct?
That was a year later.
Did you find out why the fires were there?"
Well, from what I think, that would have something to do with the fire cult that was up north, burning anything from the Fey realms that spilt over here centuries ago.
And you supposedly assume that you stopped their actions.
Or at least halted it. Just slowed it down.
Godfrey interjects and he continues to say, "Why is it that you guys always end up in these situations? Not just the Battle of Knot, but the Battle of Dorian Gray as well. What is your ties to that?"
Well, just as LaFay can tell you, Dorian Gray was our original target, but we never had a solid lead on him until days before that battle.
He turns to Rose Gold, who hands him, well, what looks like a sheet of paper. He takes it, looks it over, and he reads out, "This is a line from the contract you signed with the Acquisitions Incorporated team. It states that you will knock down the dungeon doors and fight the monsters that the normal people couldn't." Doesn't sound like you're fighting a whole lot of monsters out there. Sounds like you're fighting and getting involved with political matters.
Political matters that the capital told us to get involved in.
He kind
Dorian Gray was an enemy to everyone a year ago.
He kind of like places his hand on his head, and you guys can make insight checks here if you'd like. Rose Gold leans forward and he seems to kind of whisper, and he like waves a hand at him.
I got a 15. I don't know if that does anything.
Any chance I have advantage because he's my brother?
No.
Damn.
It's neutralized because he's your king now.
Still a brother. He's a mimic.
And you got a 15, you said?
Yeah.
You can see that he seems to be showing the signs of someone who has like a migraine. He goes on to say, "You're telling me that Father asked you to engage with these enemies.
That is correct.
What happened to Dorian Gray?
Eddard has no memories about what happened that day specifically from this timeline, does he?
Other than the fact that Dorian Gray is currently at the town.
Yeah.
Well, you know from what he told you and LaFay that you guys had spared him that day.
Yeah. That's what I kind of figured from him being there. Sorry, what was the question again?
What happened to Dorian Gray? Because another thing is, remember how a lot of it went up in speculation that he died out there? They don't know if he escaped. There's people in the streets who say that he's still alive.
Is everyone in this room just lords and stuff that would know this information?
More
or...
like just like wealthier people. I'd say like.
So not everyone in this room actually knows what's going on except for whoever's asking the questions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as all of you know, like, that information is kind of classified, but I know as much as you do about what happened with Dorian.
We'll see. He kind of returns to his seat, and Rose Gold stands and he says, "From amongst the common folk, it is very important to hear the opinions of the people that we defend and provide for in our country. We have a witness who would like to come to the stand today and speak on something that he had seen." Rose Gold turns his attention, and from the hall doors, someone is let in with two medium armored soldiers. They lead him around the group of people. There's whispers going on, and they bring him up to the stand, kind of to the right of where you guys are seated. And they look to him, and Godfrey says, "Your name, sir?" Sir von Liechtenstein. Shut up. He kind of like bows his head. You notice that like his clothing is, he seems like a commoner or someone, from the outskirts of town. He looks up and he says, "James Gorman, sir, my lord." Godfrey says, "Please tell the people what you'd seen." And he goes on to say, "About half a year ago, I was in the town, just north of here, enjoying a drink with a friend of mine. I turned to use one of the outer restrooms. We were alone, you see. Not many people were there to help collaborate, but one minute my friend was there, and when I turned, there was a hooded figure there, standing over his body. A woman. She looked right at me, and I froze. I didn't know what to do. She walked right past me, and our eyes met. Since that day, all I felt is shame. Until recently, I started to see her face on the walls. It was her. She had killed my friend. I lost everything after that day. Everything in my life spiraled out. I didn't know what to do. He knew how to run everything in our business. I lost that too. And once I saw her name and her face, I knew I had to say it. I had to speak up before she kept committing the atrocities, and he slowly turns his attention to Eulifay before she kills another man again. He took everything from me that day. And I hope they see you for what you are. Godfrey turns his attention from the man and he looks right at Eulifay. Leaning forward, he says, "It's come up quite a bit too." How many people have you killed, LaFay Silverstein?
I don't remember.
Bloodscream kind of laughs. Godfrey. A lot of them were claimed shortly after their deaths. Their faces matching the posters in those neighborhoods that they were murdered in. But sometimes it seems like you did a little more than just serve the common folk. Isn't that correct?
Trying to like think of how to word it out. Sorry. I'm like really trying to think how to say this. I know they killed those who are on the bounty list. Other than that,
The gentleman who is called forth as a witness, he chimes in. He says, my friend, he wasn't on a poster. He wasn't wanted. He wasn't a criminal, let alone stole from anyone. He didn't deserve to die.
She looks at that person. And I am truly sorry. Really, I am.
Sorry? I lost my friend, my partner in business. Everything lost. You owe me a lot more than just a sorry. A Silverstein name as well. Rich bastards. Always take... And like he starts to kind of ramble off, and Godfrey has to raise his hand, and a guard has to get between him as he tries to approach you. And the courtroom kind of like gets a little buzzed at the moment.
Yeah, she kind of gets up, like staring at him, like kind of like mad.
Finra kind of moves a bit forward, getting in between LaFay and where the guy was coming from.
The table of which you guys are seated, the heavily guarded men that had shackled you before, they move in and they surround you guys. The guards kind of looking at you guys, their hands at their weapons, kind of like, just insisting that you guys calm down. The gentleman is like arguing with the guards at this moment.
Zoe is going to place her hand gently on LaFay. Hey.
She's gonna start like arguing. I only killed him because I didn't remember. It's like something was taking over me. That
Uh,
wasn't me.
Omen just shakes his head and he's just like, nope,
LaFay,
nope.
Zoe's gonna have LaFay like move, like slightly nudge her so she can look at her. LaFay, look at me, please.
No,
No,
I think
there
I'm
are
all a
things.
murderer.
There are things that are not easily explained to people like them, LaFay. Only we know what happened to you.
Well, I wish they had known as well.
We are here to just listen now.
Just a quick thing as you speak to her. As you guys are writing, there is a cartographer seated at the base of the stairs to the left of the stand, and they're kind of leaned in and they're listening to you and LaFay currently, Zoe, and they're just quickly like scribing. Their eyes kind of like unblinking. They're just kind of staring in your direction.
Enough, LaFay. Right now is not the good place for this. But she's going to be like, she's going to like not say it loudly. She's gonna like whisper it softly to her. And she's gonna give her the eye, like the look of, please relax.
She's gonna take a seat and she's gonna like kind of like bury her head like with her arms just in frustration.
Fenrir's still standing. He like looks at Godfrey. Your Grace. I should refer to you as that such, right?
He nods his head.
There have been quite a few incidents that have occurred, and well, some of us haven't been around fully. Some of us are kind of fresh to the initiative. But since encountering these people, these other initiative members, ghosts, demons, possessions, things that I'm, well, not to say I'm a superstitious type, but I come from older tribes in the old world across the sea. Things like that I don't really encounter as much. But here, I wouldn't be surprised if I turn a corner and I find a ghost in your hallway. At that, even a demon in this room right now. Who knows?
Godfrey's just kind of like staring at you. There seems to kind of be this like 1,000-yard look in his eyes. And finally kind of breaks eye contact. Nods over for the gentleman, the witness, to be escorted out. He shouts a few more obscenities on the way out, as to which the guards kind of have to like force him to leave the room. You guys can make perception checks here if you would like.
As like one last thing, Fenrir kind of like looks back at Godfrey, and if it's possible, can I stand? Your chairs are kind of uncomfortable.
If you'd wish to stand, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring in our next witness. Unfortunately, this one's a little more difficult, so we had to hire someone to come in and work with us. And from one of the rooms in the back, where the initiative had walked through before, there is a woman that comes out, and they appear to be a tiefling, dressed in this outer garb, almost like they just kind of used just leaves and stuff to cover themselves, very poison ivy-esque. Um, she stands at the podium in front of the lords seated before you guys, and then what looks like a gentleman kind of clad in this green and red padded armor walks into the room from the hallway doors, and on his arm he has a hawk, a very large hawk. He walks up and he sets the hawk on the witness stand, and then he stands back at attention. The druid addresses the hawk, and then the hawk kind of chirps and makes responses, and the druid explains. This hawk is one that was owned by a soldier that patrolled the Gurkha forest. Some time has passed since this event. No, this is actually recent, sorry. I'm mixing up two details here. The most recent event occurred involving what we believe to be pets of the initiative. On the outskirts of the Gurkha forest, the hawk witnessed the death of its master as it was torn asunder by a couple of wolves, quickly led after by a familiar face, or at least a familiar beast, known to have traveled with the initiative, a griffin. If you guys want to attempt an insight check,
I got an 18 on the insight.
14.
Dirty 20.
19.
It's like if it involves our pets, yes. We must know.
Everything else is not important.
and
just our
surprisingly,
pet.
Fen, you just
As it was
passed.
written.
They're translating as best as they can, right?
Yeah.
But your focus goes from listening to and averting your attention to the translator to then kind of turning your attention to the actual hawk that seems to kind of like stammer its foot a little bit and kind of look off to the right every time it like gives you a sentence.
It's looking off to the right.
You have this impression, Fenrir, that it may not be telling the whole truth.
Wait, can't Zoe talk to animals? Or communicate with them?
That's something to bring up. But only Fen noticed the discomfort of the witness.
If I may, Druidess.
She turns her attention to you.
Is that all that it's saying? Is it not going to share more? It seems nervous.
Make a persuasion check with advantage. It's supposed to be difficult unless you have like an ability to speak to animals. Then, yeah, if you're actively using speak to animal right now, then that would kind of bypass having to do this. But it's more so he just catching on to the mannerisms of the bird.
He's gonna kind of look over to Zoe. Do you mind?
Please.
Give Zoe a second. If you could, I believe this hawk has some bit more to say.
Jim leans in and he whispers over to you, Zoe. Ask permission before you go and use a spell or anything, okay?
Yeah. She's going to the restroom. She asks permission.
Okay. Godfrey looking her over, he says, "You must speak directly to the witness, and then the translation will come from our druid." Is that understood?
She says yes.
Okay. So essentially, as you speak in the language to this hawk, the druid is going to translate to everyone else in the room. So that way it's like a live conversation.
Okay.
There's an exposition expert there to explain it all. But yes. Is she still in the restroom?
Yeah, give her a second. She is back.
Sorry about that. Zoe's going to smile gently towards the hawk. Is there anything else that you would like to say to us? Any details?
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
14.
The hawk like tilts its head towards you and it says, "They did get scared because my master, when he saw them, he did not recognize them, nor did they belong in the Gurkha forest. So he held them at rifle point and he tried to defend himself. Then they lashed out. The griffin is the one that persuaded them to leave."
And being translated from all this through the druid, Fenrir kind of like looks. So what you're saying is they were almost shot, and they attempted to defend themselves in the confusion that he was defending himself.
What they're bringing up to say, says Bloodscream, is that you have wild animals towing along with you from town to town, and you never know the unpredictability of them. You were not there to keep them on a leash. Therefore, they invaded through the town itself, terrorized the people of the capital, went through the Gurkha forest, and God knows who else they might have killed.
Bloodscream, was it?
Yes.
If I may, what it sounds like is that our animals, the ones that you deemed so dangerous, left the town to go to the forest where they know no people are around.
The Gurkha forest surrounds the capital, and there's no need for anyone who does not belong to the capital to come through it, especially wild beasts.
But if they're held at gunpoint, I assume if you were held at gunpoint, you'd be ready to defend yourself, correct?
I would say that the soldier was doing his duties, patrolling the Gurkha forest as they should.
Are we certain that there was nothing else there?
You're asking if anything else provoked the beast? Or provoked the soldier?
Provoked both.
It has not been mentioned. The only thing that's known is that the griffin itself is confirmed to be one of yours, and then later admitted by Cato himself, that you have wolves amongst you in the Dungeon Initiative. Weren't they not in the capital before that? Godfrey nods his head at this. It was addressed the last time I saw you, brother. Rose Gold, kind of like sensing the tension, puts his hands up and he says, "He simply brought a witness to make the statement. Let's not press any further than what we have now."
Is it possible to ask this hawk? Was it?
It's just a
Is it
hawk.
possible to ask the hawk if there was anything else in the forest at that time?
The hawk kind of shakes its head and says, "For a long time, nothing's interrupted the forest. The last major event was probably a couple of bandits that we took care of pretty easily. And then there was a Yuan-Ti over a year before that. You were all involved with that as well."
If I might ask real fast, this is also out of character. Is this forest the one in between where that town? What was it called?
No, so in the city, the capital, you have the city itself, the walls surrounding it, and then around it a large set of major fields with mainly like farmlands and stuff like that. And then surrounding that is this manufactured forest line where these soldiers kind of like patrol, almost like the what's the name of the faction from Attack on Titan? Yeah, like the Scout Regiment essentially.
Jesus.
Okay.
And they like patrol the entire borderline of the Gurkha forest. You guys, I think being secondary group, you probably don't know too much about this.
No, we are not familiar with the capital at all.
So essentially, they're bundling you into the initiative as a whole, not caring if you're new members or not. They're just deciding whether or not the initiative needs to keep going. Having no other testimony, the hawk kind of looks over at Godfrey, and so does the druid, turning to him, and she says he has nothing else to say. Godfrey does lean in, and he looks right at the hawk, and he says, "Did you happen to see which way they went?" And the hawk looks over at the initiative for a second, tilts his head, and then right back at the druid, and says, "North." Godfrey nods and says, "Thank you for your testimony. Go with peace." And the hawk like kind of tilts his head down, almost like it's bowing, and then it hops up on the arm of the soldier who carries it out.
Finner just kind of watches the hawk a little bit. That was a pretty bird.
When the witness is completely out of the room, Godfrey leans in, and Rose Gold kind of tilts in, and he starts whispering something into his ear.
Is it like visible or something?
I mean, they're on the stage. Everybody can see them. And I would say, like, from where you guys are seated to where they're at is like 15 feet apart.
Ooh, hang on. I think I have something that might come in handy here.
I roll to read lips.
Actually, I think that's what Observant does.
Yeah. Do you have to roll or anything, or is it just...
No, it's just I can read lips from a distance.
Okay. Let's see. Make an insight check or a perception with advantage, because he does kind of have his hand over his mouth while he's leaning in. So it's a little more difficult.
Yeah, well, that's actually what it does. If you can see a creature's mouth while it is speaking a language you understand, you can interpret what it's saying by reading lips.
Does it mention anything about it being clear in sight, or if it's obscured?
If it's obscured, I can only assume a perception goes with it.
Yeah, go ahead and make a perception check here, and we'll just make it a regular roll, no advantage or disadvantage.
Please. 19.
You can kind of make out that Rose Gold is saying the next witness is someone familiar to them. And Godfrey whispers back, and this one you can kind of see clearly. He says, "Are you sure that this is important?" And Rose Gold whispers and says, "I think it'll help them, and maybe give us a better perception over all of them." Godfrey nods his head and he leans back. Fen, did you want to say anything to the rest of the group or anything like that?
I'm merely observing, but there's no tension. If anybody else can tell, Fenrir doesn't seem worried about the next person.
Godfrey stands and he puts his hand up and he says, "Please bring our next witness in." And LeFay and Edard, you both look back, and who you see is, at first, it's just like the top of their head as they're marching in. You can hear the clatter of some light armor. They move their helmet, the crowd kind of looking back at him, whispering to each other. He comes around the corner, and you realize that they're putting a step stool down, and you notice that it's Tucker Day Dover, Johnny's older brother.
Okay.
To the rest of the group, you guys don't know him, but he does have a striking resemblance to the halfling you guys met up north. And if I had a model character or actor I would compare him to, it's the guy from Lord of the Rings who plays Sam. Sean Ashmore, thank you.
No, not Ashmore.
No, you're right. Not one of those. You got it. But essentially, yeah, he comes up to the stand and he doesn't necessarily smile or anything, but he looks to the rest of you and he kind of nods his head and then looks right back at Godfrey. And he says, Sean Aston, thank you. He looks at Godfrey and he says, "Your Grace, I am Tucker Day Dover, part of the South Regiment at Foothold. And I myself was brother to Johnny Day Dover, who was a representative of the Dungeon Initiative." Godfrey looks at him and he says, "What do you have to say about the nature of the initiative?" "Everything good starts with an idea, a means to do something great for the greater good. That's why I became a soldier. At first it was just for fun, and I just wanted a way to pay my parents' life forward, pay them back for everything they did. But as I served longer and I moved up, I realized that it became more to me than just that. And admittedly, there are a lot of things that I can't change about the capital or the wars that have come before, or the things that are possibly to come. When I first got involved with the initiative, I just saw a group of people that were very different, oftentimes coming together to deal with things that I would have been told to just not worry about, or someone else will deal with it, or been passed off as just nonsense. But we don't live in a world that's just simple. We know that there's magic, and we know there's chaos, and we know there's monsters. The initiative fought a lot of these monsters for all of you." And he turns and he addresses the people seated behind you guys. "When the Yuan-Ti came, when they attacked this very city, our soldiers were no match for them. Even our Lord Stormbane didn't have enough resources to combat all of it on his own. His son, Silverstain, and a few others, they stepped up where most wouldn't, and they took action. We needed them. All the way until the end, I know that my brother believed in it. Because even when he would fight his own mentality and think that he wasn't on the right path, he was always reassured the next time that he did something great, that he was with the right people. The initiative is very important to not just me, but my family. and others who have been inspired in Foothold, currently standing trial for the same thing, just trying to do the right thing. He looks at you and he says, I happen to be in the neighborhood. And I know that if it was me, you would have done the same.
Or I just gives him like a little nod.
So let it be a reminder that no matter what happens, there's always going to be people like the Dungeon Initiative. People who want to do more. I guess that's all I have to say about that. I hate you. Godfrey just looks them over, and he looks over at Tucker and he says, is that all? No, Your Grace. Might I be allowed to be seated with the people? And Godfrey raises a hand and directs him. And sure enough, Tucker goes and he takes a seat amongst the people in the crowd, and he's just kind of looking at you guys and gives you a little fist up. Godfrey like squints his eyes. Seems like again, LeFay, you know, kind of noticing the signs that he's got something going on.
Can I insight check that again?
For what he's got going on?
Yeah, these headaches he seems to be having going.
Sure.
Uh, 19.
I think that's what LeFay got last time. 15. I mean, you can definitely tell he's got a migraine of some kind. You just can't tell, like, you know, anything else from it. Godfrey goes on to say, and a lot of good has come, and I have heard stories. But the question is still standing whether we should allow it to keep going, or if we should have more control. I have one more witness. Someone who has gained more insight. Things that a lot of us didn't know before. Things that are making a lot more sense now. I call Cassandra Gray to the stand. And the woman with red hair and the red gown, she walks up to the stand. And she doesn't look at any of you. Instead, she kind of like stares at the crowd. She says, through my practices, I have learned to have insight into the past and future, things possibly to be, things that have happened. Some time ago, a year now, the Battle of Dorian Gray occurred. My family at question, my loyalties at question. I was supposed to kill Dorian Gray. In one reality that I have seen and recall through my dreams, the Fae Silverstein kills him. But most recently, he survives somehow.
Shoot.
It's hard to say if the intentions of the initiative is all one idea, or if all of you seem to operate under your own mindsets, or insanity. Most recently, the events of Sweetwater have reached us, and there is the death of the Lord of the North. Stormbane himself, before uniting with his allies, had involvement with a demon that possessed a young man.
Eric's jaw's just kind of clenching right now.
Tell the court what happened to that young man.
The boy's name was David. After failing to save him from possession, I killed him.
The crowd gasps behind you. There's a couple of commentaries that go back and forth. Godfrey raises a hand for order to return, but Cassandra remains silent. Ona leans forward and she looks down across the table at you. What happened to this demon after which Lord Stormbane?
Continued following me. He's not the same as before.
So you became friends with a demon that possesses children. The very thing you are charged to destroy. Where is the demon now?
Not amongst us. But he has redeemed himself.
A demon is born of chaos and darkness, death and hatred. To allow it to fester in one's home is to grow the darkness within your hearts. How are we to know that you have not been tainted by this otherworldly being, if we are not counting having to kill its vessel?
I know he hasn't taken hold of me because something else resides in me.
Something else resides in you? Cassandra turns her attention to you, Fenrir.
Yes, hello.
Most recently, you have found your inner power, have you not?
Yes, actually.
At one point unleashing it not too far from the initiative's home. Is that correct?
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally. You are implying that you have control over an ancient power?
It's become more stable, at least from that incident. I'll admit to that.
How are we to know for sure?
We've stopped him once, we can do it again if it needs to come.
There's that. But I recently was able to control it.
Having spoken up, Hugh, she turns her eyes to you, and she kind of like stares at you, like right into your eyes, for like real long time.
Mm-hmm.
She asks, "Tell me, Hugh, how was Sunriva?"
Not pleasant.
At least he's truthful about that. The
Do
children.
not recommend.
Having become aware of the situation in Sunriva, our Lord Godfrey plans to make his move on this city and its issues. But you
definitely
being there
should.
recently, it is said and it is seen that you contributed to some of its atrocities.
Nope.
You did not murder anyone,
Nope.
not even that of the wife of Salazar.
No idea who that is.
Hugh, it's gonna be best if you cooperate.
I don't know who that is. I'm being genuine. All I've ever done is protect myself.
Do you need much protection from an old man or an old woman?
What do you mean? This was San Riva. I never kill anybody in San Riva.
In the northern roads of Sweetwater, you needed a carriage, and you forced a man off of it along with his wife.
How?
Do you recall?
I was never there. There's no proof I was there. I was in Sweetwater at the time.
She turns to Godfrey. Godfrey leans forward and he says, "Do you swear by that?"
I do.
He was in school.
This is out of game. Keep in mind, I was invisible, so there's no way somebody could have seen me. So,
Okay. See everything.
I'm just saying. Doesn't make sense how they would know when no one's told her, unless she can look into my soul and look into my memories.
She can look into the future and the past.
Yeah, she brought up stuff that no one else knows about at our.
Yeah, no. I never killed some. Well, to my knowledge, I don't know I killed the person. So, I'm gonna go with no. I didn't kill anybody.
Jesus.
Is that wrong?
I know.
I didn't know I killed her at the time. How am I supposed to know? I just.
So she looks back at Godfrey, who holds his hand up and he just kind of like tells her to wait, essentially. And she just kind of steps back, bows to you all, and turns to Godfrey and bows as well and says, "That is all, my lord." And she steps away, back into her position behind the crown. The gnome leader kind of steps up, ignoring the podium. He just kind of steps past it and just like stands at the end of the edge of the stage, and he addresses all of you and he says, "Which one of you is Zoe?" So you?
Zoe's just gonna raise her hand slightly.
I hear you're a craftsman of fire.
That is true.
And when you traveled north with your companions, did you feel the power of the Fire Lord?
No.
I did not.
Did you worship the Fire Lord before you went north, or have any connection to his people, his studies, or practices? Or did you simply take on the arcane arts out of curiosity?
I followed no lord. From the old world, I knew about the types of fire that I learned.
Zoe, make a perception check. Do it with advantage.
Thank you, because I rolled a 10.
Yeah, I was like thinking about it and I realized like I could give you advantage for this one.
A 25.
Natural 20.
Okay, so he like leans in and he says, fires these days aren't as bright as they should be, are they? And as he says this, you kind of catch it for like an instant. There's like a torch kind of sitting above the throne, like kind of like on the wall behind them, and you see it kind of flicker a bit of green within its middle.
Fire never really is the way it is.
Many of my people believe that fire is the reason that life is what it is. It brings us warmth and happiness and joy and hope. Over time, even I began to believe in these things. But shortly after your battle in the north, it's like our prayers are not answered as frequent as they used to be. The flames don't keep us at the warmth that we deserve. Soon the winters will come. What happened to the temple in the north? I hear it was destroyed. And we still do not have a full accounting of what happened. Do you not know what these people have done? Destroying the temple of the fire god? The cultists that perverted its stones, its frameworks, its beliefs. You have killed something there that cannot be returned. Tell us what happened. Is our worship for naught anymore? Is justice even in this room? You can all make perception checks when he says this.
Dirty 20.
Good at the
12.
Every time I'm about to hit a natural 20, it always flips at the last second.
Yeah.
24.
So, Zoe and LaFay, you notice that when he's talking like this, and he says, "Is there no justice in this room? Is there no hope?" A lot of the people that are standing around that have those sigils of Palor, they kind of reach up and they like touch it, and they're just like kind of closing their eyes and doing a quick prayer. You guys even notice Cassandra does it as well. Well,
We didn't destroy the temple.
then what happened?
Let's kind of look over at LaFay for a moment. Are you aware of a devil named Arzon?
Make perception checks.
Advantage or anything?
Just regular perception checks. Again, everybody at the
18.
table can make these.
18.
18 for Hugh.
13.
23.
19.
Yay!
So, LaFay.
Yes.
When he says the name, you notice very, very quickly this little twitch on Kiazul's nose. You notice that Godfrey kind of sits up with like this look in his eyes, like he's really paying attention now. And behind you, I'd say like with the feeling that kind of washes over the room, that kind of hits you, that familiarity that hits you when you hear the name. You look back over the crowd and you notice that the woman in blue, she like kind of clutches at her chest and kind of looks around the room.
Judging from all your faces, you do know him.
It's around here that you guys hear like a rush coming from the back and someone kind of shouting, "Let us in! Okay, we belong here! We're just running a little late! No need for the freak out!" And in stumbles in Kato with Brian. "Okay, I'll wait here! Oh shit! Sorry! I'll wait outside!" And Goblin or Brian stumbles out, followed by a guard who like grabs him by the scruff of the neck. "You don't gotta do that, alright? You son of a bitch!" And Godfrey like runs in, sits down next to you guys.
Kato is what you mean.
Or Kato, he runs in, he like sits down. Sorry, Your Grace." He stands back up, bows. "I'm so sorry." And Godfrey looks him over. "Are you alright?" And Kato, like you guys notice that he's like all roughed up. He seems like he's got like his clothes all tattered in some places. Ready? What'd I miss?
Does he have any bruising?
He has bruising around like the side of his neck.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, like somebody had it looks like somebody struck him. It doesn't look like no hickey. There's like a big bruise growing like right here.
Right, Kato.
Oh, dang.
We'll have to talk about it later. Okay.
Zoe's just gonna look at him. Just like that little stare.
But Bloodscream, he's like shaking his head and he's like smiling. This representation is rather suitable, don't you think, Mr. Stormbane?
I'm sure you're just enjoying the show, aren't you?
Chaotic and sloppy. Nothing precise like your father was. Godfrey, sensing the tension, he addresses Cato, and he says, "Meet with me after this. We need to discuss some things." But you were asking about Arzon, brother. We've heard the name and we've been looking into these things. But the question still remains, what happened? Was he involved, are you saying?
He killed the Fire Lord
Why?
for his power.
And this is all you know about it.
What was the question? Sorry.
This is all you know. You killed the Fire Lord, and according to Cassandra, things aren't as they should be.
No.
So what happened? And, like, he's not just looking at Eddard, by the way. He does scan all of your faces to see if there's an answer. This isn't just him. It's the entire panel waiting in silence for you guys to state fully and publicly what happened in the north.
We came into conflict with a being from another realm, or universe, rather.
I believe you have it right the first time, Edward. It was definitely another realm.
Yeah.
Of this one.
And the cultists believed him to be some sort of messiah to take on this power.
Is that guy?
Okay. The quiz has Shadarak.
You said Hagayu? As it was. Anyway.
There's been so much tension for like 2 hours, and then these little breaks of laughter is just like so relieving. Like, oh gosh, some breaks.
We made a couple beings from this other realm to confront this false deity, I guess would be the right wording for it, in order to save a friend of ours who had vital information of the Nine Hells. And in that confrontation, with the aid of some very unlikely allies, he nearly won.
That little bastard.
Until I used an artifact that turned back time.
Godfrey hears this and he says, "So not only do you have a way to teleport all the way across the land, you can turn back and control time."
One-time use.
What happened to this item?
What was that?
What happened to this item?
It's useless now.
Are you willing to surrender it over to us today?
Not with me.
Cato, take note that we need that artifact. Are there any other items that you wish to report to us now before we do a full investigation in the town of the Initiative? We hear that you're in possession of that ring. And whoever's seated next to Omen, the closest, Omen, like under the table goes like this, like a.
Nothing else I'm aware of.
What are you doing? I can't see you.
He, like, under the table, he's kind of, like, moving his hand, like, nope, nothing else.
No, I don't say anything.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm just trying to enjoy a sweet, succulent Chinese meal.
Let's just say some things are very much different since that day.
Yes, they are, says Godfrey. We will need you to surrender the portal ring and the others that you have. If not today, we will figure out suitable time or arrangements to pick up these items. With your cooperation, of course. With rebellion in the streets, questioning the state of rule, we did what we had to do, and thanks to Rose Gold, Bloodscream, we've managed to find a way forward. Sitting before us is another choice. You're all supposed to be a constant strength for the people, a neutral force used for greater good. Do you think you can all redeem yourselves and be great again? Restore the purpose of the initiative? Is that something any of you even desire? He looks at you and he says that here.
What exactly would be needed for us on our part?
That's still to be decided. I think we've asked everything we need of you currently.
Fenrir kind of like looking around a bit. You know, of all the witnesses you called in here, you never called anybody who we have actually helped in the last few days.
I'm sure there's a lot of people you've helped recently. Again, the news of the things in Sweetwater have just reached us because Cassandra gave us the insight. So, I will consider these actions as evidence towards good deeds.
Fireball.
Magic missile.
I would like to rage. No, I'm just kidding.
Shit.
Raise against the machine.
Oh, God.
Rose Gold leans in and he like fully covers his mouth, and he leans in and he starts to whisper to Godfrey. If you guys would like to attempt a perception check.
LaFay, can you hear him with your big ears?
Wow.
Don't you have, like, better hearing than most people? Cough, cough, nudge, nudge.
Better hearing than an elf.
Yeah.
We have the aspect of the animal, not like.
So you might be able to hear him
Decent size,
whisper.
okay?
They're long, knife ears.
It literally reminded me of yesterday's conversation.
I was gonna say, would me and yeah, you know, I was gonna say, wouldn't me and Zoe both be able to hear since we both have good hearing?
What was the question? You're asking me?
She was asking
Yeah,
if me and her would be able to hear because one, I have fox ears that apparently hear better.
You can make it with advantage if you'd like.
Alright, what am I rolling?
What is it again?
Making perception check to see if you can hear what Rose Gold says.
Me too.
Alright. And you said with advantage, right?
Yeah.
Alright, I rolled a 24.
Okay.
Do I roll 2?
Yeah, you can make a check.
Dang, I almost had. I got a 20.
Alright, so both of you can hear by straining your ears, kind of leaning forward on the table. Rose Gold whispers and says to Godfrey, Zoe, you hear it a little clearer than LaFay does, but he says, perhaps the initiative should wait in the other room while we discuss things with the acquisitions members. And Godfrey turns to him and he says, yes. He stands up and he looks over all of you. Kiazul looking at you guys before he takes his seat, kind of like he's conflicted and troubled with what you've told him. But he sits down and he just sits thinking about it. Godfrey stands and he says, I would now like for the initiative members to return to their quarters. Acquisitions is to stay here while we discuss the evidence and everything else brought to the table today. Before this happens, would anyone like to say anything before leaving the room?
Zoe's gonna to what?
To look. What was his name? Kiazul or?
Yeah, Kiazul is the gnome leader.
The one that
He was the one who mentioned the fire.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Zoe's gonna look straight at him, and she's going to like bow her head slightly, but she will say, "There is hope in your belief. Never lose faith in the flames of life."
One more time.
There is hope in your belief. Never lose faith in the flames of life.
He does seem to kind of consider this. Playing at, the small patch of hair he's got on his chin. He's just kind of seems to be in deep thought right now. But Godfrey still says, if there's anything you guys would like to say before you're dismissed for the time being, and that you'll be recalled in a few minutes.
Finner just looks at the blood scream. I got nothing to say.
Jesus Christ.
Bloodscream doesn't seem affected by this. In fact, he's kind of looking at you as if you're like you're just a kid that's just not listening. Godfrey does look at the guards and waves them over. They ask you guys to stand. Omen stands up and he's just like, he leans in and he's like, you guys did good, okay? You guys kept your heads. Nobody lost it. Nobody got arrested or killed on the spot. I don't know if that's a thing here, but it's possible in other places. Any questions before you guys go? Anything you want to tell me?
Zoe's going to look at him, and she's just gonna like whisper to him what she heard.
They want to hear our views and our stance and why we started. And then they're probably going to make a decision from there. My job and Jim's is to do our best to make sure that none of you end up canned, arrested, or even put to death. He does look to LaFay and he says, I think that your situation might be a little more complicated than we think.
Don't say.
We have evidence to prove that I was.
Yeah, but Jim is kind of looking over at Cassandra, who seems disinterested, not looking at you guys in particular. But Jim goes on to say,
I will say, like, Edward's eyes have kind of been locked on Cassandra for most of this time.
yeah, she's not looking at you guys or at you specifically. You hear as Jim says, that witch over there is definitely trouble. She's got some sort of magic that I can't even understand. Jim is bugged.
He wasn't like that before. Now just start walking out.
Yeah, guards kind of start to push you guys up. Omen.
Also, did we get the shackles removed?
No, the shackles are still on, and you're being led to the kind of like where you guys came from, back to the initiative room. As you guys are let out, go ahead and make perception checks if you would like. Ona kind of runs up between you guys.
Ooh.
She like touches your arm, Fen, and looks up at you kind of reassuringly. Goes up behind Hugh, looks at him, pats him on the back. Goes over to LaFay, takes her hand, then kind of like touches Zoe's. And she looks at you, and as you guys are crossing through the doorway, she says, "Everything's gonna be okay. Okay?"
Yeah. That's kind of.
Did anybody want to make perception checks on the way out?
Rolled a 15.
I got
rolled
a
a 3.
24.
24.
He just does not give a shit. He's fucking dumb. Mumble to myself as I'm walking out of the room. I hate the government. To be disbanded.
He says.
Okay. So, for LaFay and Fenrir, you see the people kind of like, still seated. They're kind of talking amongst themselves as you guys are let out. Ona says what she says. You notice that the woman in the back of the room, dressed in all blue, she kind of decides to move up and sit right next to, what is his name? Lord Lockhart, who kind of looks over at her, looks her over and smiles, and she smiles back before looking right at you and LaFay, and then right at Fen, and she just smiles. But then you guys go through the room, and you guys can hear echoing from the hall and following you guys as you're led between the tables to the initiative rooms. You can hear Godfrey announce, "We will now be sitting with Omen Drawn, leader of the Acquisitions Incorporated. Let us begin." And as the doors close behind you guys, we're going to go on a 15-minute break. Alright guys, we are back. Hope you're all rested up real quick.
Oh, I like that.
The group is led to the initiative room where you're all kind of left there with a pair of guards at the door. One of them is turned and watching the others as they like close the door behind them, and he immediately turns and let's see.
That was crazy. You got 15.
Shut up. The guard looks over at Zoe, and he whispers, "Hey, you guys are great."
Thank you.
I just want you to know, I totally think you guys are legit, and all of this just seems like a misunderstanding. Got it? Alright, just don't tell anybody. Maybe sign my armor later. Or now if you got time. The other guard's just kind of looking straight ahead, just...
He's the believer. We have to convert him. Yeah.
I know.
He like leans back, and Ona comes up behind you and she like hugs you around your legs, Edard.
I hug her back and just sit down in a chair. I'm guessing. I'm thinking there's a chair.
Yeah, a table's been kind of set up here now. Like kind of like there's some like cold tea sitting on the table from where Jim and Omen were sitting earlier.
So kind of just like on the edge of the table, I sit there for a
And
moment.
you guys are all welcome to go to your rooms at this point, or just kind of stay in the same room. Ona, looking at all of you, she says, "I don't care what they say. They're the good guys. Aren't we?
Finner kind of looks around real fast at her. After this is, I guess, over with, Omen said that we had these 30 days, our next 30 days, to be kind of rest. I was going to ask if I could borrow Ona and Zoe as well, if you don't mind coming along. I want to help the people of Sweetwater. There's a lot of injured, a lot of buildings destroyed. They could use a help. A bit of help, actually.
I can definitely probably help out with that a bit.
But mainly asking Ona as well if she can accompany us. Her healing abilities could be quite useful for those people out there.
Speaking of healing, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. I mean, oh.
Who are you talking to?
I'm just kidding. No, I just spoke
right,
up. Like, no,
right now,
not
as far as I can tell, I'm just Ona in this scene.
I'm just talking out loud. There's like, some people need healing. I need healing. I don't feel so well. Not saying it to anybody, just putting it out there.
Oh, Jesus.
Do with that information of what you will.
I actually just looked at D&D Beyond, and yeah, he's hurting.
Somebody had a little funny head.
Oh, yeah.
Put a hurdy on my head.
Took that random amount of damage.
Alright. Yeah, the room is quiet except for all of you seated together. Yeah, Ona is just kind of like, just trying to like settle with you guys and relax, but you do kind of sense like there's some worry coming off of her.
You okay, Ona?
Hugh, did you really hurt somebody?
Not to my knowledge. Definitely not on purpose.
What if you just can't remember and you did?
Then I shall atone for my sins.
I wish you would atone for your sins.
You shut up. Miss Mass Murderer. I killed him because there was a bounty.
But
Oh, no,
That was not.
Oh, that was. Oh, she's so quiet. I thought it was LaFay.
Wait, whoa.
I was like, you come down there, bounty hunter.
no, it's Ona. It's Ona.
Quiet in there. Her just would.
Zoe said something too.
Yeah, but since you bring it up, Ona looks at LaFay. What's happening with you? Like, I don't understand.
I was about to say something, but I'm not gonna say it anymore.
She looks around.
I know exactly why this is happening.
She looks around at all of you and she's just like, what does atoning mean here in the capital? What are they gonna do if LaFay and Hugh are in trouble?
I'm pretty sure they'll probably lock up Hugh in a lot of chains and just keep him there and probably starve him.
As much as I hate the government, I know the law well enough for a few loopholes, if need be.
Please don't do any loopholes.
But you would need loopholes if you didn't do it, right?
I'm saying if I am wrongfully convicted, there's a loophole, right?
I don't know anything about how
But you
any of this
literally
really
told
works.
us you did it before we went in there.
You really did tell us.
It would have been manslaughter. Wasn't
It-
purposeful.
Oh my
But
God.
if I'm convicted, I can always,
There's
Look
literally
in
do.
this room with us.
that can tell you exactly what you did.
Effie, is there a fireplace in here?
Who's Effie?
Lord DM.
Oh my.
There is a fireplace on the northern end of this room.
Zoe's just gonna walk over to it and just kneel down as she's just a little slightly annoyed.
Eris leaps off your shoulder and sits next
Eris
to you.
actually left in the room.
Huh?
I left Eris in the room.
Oh,
with
then Eris runs out of the other room and joins you by the fire.
Yippee!
She's just
And
gonna look at Eris. Really?
Eris kind of leans in and whispers, "Are you okay?"
I'm fine, Eris.
Okay. It looked really tense. I went out to the window and I was watching from outside.
I told you to stay with the site.
I know, but did you see it?
The green fire?
Well, I did see that for like a second, but there was that lady in the back of the room.
I did see her.
Did you see anything else about her? I think that was a goddess. Did you hear me?
No, no.
It was just for me. It sounded like he was chewing on air.
Oh, he said she may have been a goddess.
Oh.
She was emanating some kind of light. I didn't think anybody else noticed. And I don't think you did either. You only saw her.
Well, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah. Did anything feel off to you in that room?
A little.
I guess it's not exactly a happy place, huh?
It isn't. But I'm sure everything will smooth out. Except for one person.
Ona starts to cry.
Eris, so entertain her.
I don't want anyone to go to jail. And then she like runs over and hugs you, Hugh.
Oh my god.
I won't go to jail.
I just don't want you to go to jail. I want you to be good. I want you
I'm
to
not
be
going
good.
to jail.
Fender just kind of like looks over at him. If he does go to jail, he'll just eat the rocks and get out.
But rocks don't taste good.
He's a dwarf. They taste good to him.
She
Listen
looks
here,
at you.
furball. I don't eat rocks. I throw them at people.
Maybe you should stop throwing rocks at people.
Maybe you need to learn to start throwing rocks at people.
I throw
I'll teach
fire
you.
at bad people.
I'm just saying. If it comes down to it, I will do a trial by combat.
So you see like these people like talking to each other, and like while this is happening, she's like just kind of looking at you, at her, just heartbroken and sad, confused maybe.
Like, kind of get up and like go over to the guard there and just, is there if we can step outside of the garden area?
The guards like shake their head no. The other one that was kind of being friendly, he's just kind of like, sorry.
Not even for the kid.
Sorry. can make a persuasion on them.
Nah.
Yeah.
I will persuade with intimidation.
Oh my god.
Never mind. That didn't go well. I don't want to talk about it.
Jeez.
Listen here, punk!
And just kind of near toward like the room, real quick.
Did you try to do a?
It was a nat one.
It
That
didn't go
one?
well. Yeah.
Both.
Listen here, punk!
So you lead her off to one of the rooms.
Oh wait.
I rolled the wrong thing. It was perception I accidentally rolled. You want me to just keep that roll?
You rolled perception,
Yeah, I rolled that by accident.
and then you try to intimidate. I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't go well.
Go ahead and do an actual persuasion check.
Yeah, because I have a
Perception.
Hey, listen, that's easy to make a mistake. That's
Both P's.
because on persuasion
I have a +8.
the giddy guy looks over at the other guard. Come on, I'll take them. It won't be a big deal. We'll leave the doors open. You make a call. Just don't let them fuck around out there, okay? Last thing I need is someone out there reporting that we're not doing our job. He looks at you. Lord Stormbane, please.
Just gonna take Ona out for a little walk.
Go ahead.
If anything, just let me know and we'll quickly get back inside.
The guard leads you guys out, pushing the doors open to the garden, and he leaves them open as he said, and he like kind of stands nearby and lets you guys roam off in the garden.
Why? That's fly away. I'm just kidding.
I don't like these shackles anymore.
Cast spell.
Fenner just like finds a tree, sits down.
All right. What's
That's
everybody
about
else
it.
doing?
He's gonna have a rest. Little short rest if I can.
Going in one of the rooms and just chill.
Yep. Have a little nap.
When you go into your room, you do see that your stuff is there as you left it, and your weapons have been returned, and they're just sitting there for you.
Hmm. Good. I can melt these shackles.
Oh my god.
Zoe, LaFay, what are you guys doing?
Zoe's gonna step out into the garden and just look around.
Okay. LaFay?
She's. Dang, I don't know.
I mean, you can chill in one of your own rooms if you'd like.
Yeah, she'll do that.
Okay. Out in the garden, Fenrir kind of chilling nearby, Zoe walking around. Ona with you, she's just kind of looking at flowers, still kind of crying and sniffling.
Kind of like go with her toward like that spot that Johnny always used to go to.
With that large mound of dirt.
We'll sit on that mound of dirt.
Yeah, it's this tree that's kind of like tilted off to the side and it kind of grows weird. You know, like the kind of tree people would go sit on and hang out and smoke off of. But like the roots are embedded deep and to this large mound of dirt that he used to kind of like lay on top of. And you can still kind of see like where that large mound of dirt is. There's a small trail of leftover leaves. And you kind of recall how Johnny used to kind of like wrap himself in growing this like vines and stuff over himself.
Yeah, 'cause he used to sleep as a cat, right?
Mhm.
Kind of go over there and sit down with her and just. You can feel free to say anything to me.
I keep saying how I don't want us to break apart and be angry all the time and stuff, but I guess we got broken up a lot in just a few days, and before I know it, we're already here, and they're talking about breaking us up even more. I don't like this. This doesn't... It feels like a lot of people in that room aren't on our side, and they don't know what we've done for them. That you have done for them.
It's a lot easier for someone in their position to not notice the things that we have if they don't actually go out there. Of course, it's going to be difficult for them to believe us, anything we tell them, especially since they have their own interests that they're looking into protecting those.
But what if they don't listen long enough to the point where we can't convince them of what's coming? If something terrible happens, are they just gonna let it be too late? We're supposed to meet these things at the door if it comes.
All we can do is hope that they actually listen to us. And if not, we will confront those things anyways.
Like leans her head on you and just kind of closes her eyes. And it's a bright morning. The sun's out. There's not a lot of clouds. There's definitely a warmth in the air, but it's not muggy and overly hot. Hugh, or Fen, out in the garden, it's very relaxing ambience there. Zoe walking by through the garden, there's plenty to see. It smells nice out here, and if you've seen like a butterfly garden, imagine that like 10 times 10. This entire yard is a garden to get lost in and enjoy. But if you pass by like the outer fences, you can see out like past the bars surrounding the castle. Are you like kind of like gazing around, or just kind of like staying within the garden? Zoe.
Gazing around.
Okay. Make a perception check for me.
No.
Okay. Well.
Wait.
You perceive everything and nothing at the same time.
I saw a butterfly.
There's a lot of butterflies and flowers and pretty stuff. You can hear it, but you can't see it. There's some like chanting out in the distance, as if like people in protest, but you can't make out what they're saying.
Do I hear this?
Depends. Are you just chilling in the garden?
He's kind of there, just like taking in the surrounding sounds. Hopefully just birds chirping. But if he hears like people in the distance, I guess he's gonna hear that too.
Make a perception check.
17.
So with the 17, you can kind of make out the shouting disturbing the peaceful ambience around you. Where you hear like the tweeting of birds and like the rustling of leaves and stuff like that in the wind. You can also hear like a chanting of down with Stormbane, down with Stormbane, down with Stormbane, and like they're chanting this, and it sounds like they're all the rage about this. But Hugh kind of taking a nap, and LaFay just chilling in your room, right? The time passes. Maybe like 10 minutes turns into 20. And then eventually it's about 30 minutes. Ona's been kind of tired of the heat and wants to go inside. And she kind of goes into her room. Fen and Zoe, Are you staying outside together or going in? What's going on?
Zoe's gonna go ahead and head back in.
Okay. So the group all returned, or most of the group. Fen, are you still outside for the 30 minutes?
Yeah.
The guard stands not too far away after having led Zoe and the others back in, and he's just like, pretty soon they're probably going to call us in. Can I ask, what's your name again?
You. He's talking to you.
Oh, talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That ditzy happy guard that seems to be a fan. He's like, what's your name again?
He looks up at him.
Bartholomew.
It's Finrear.
I'm Tommy June. I wasn't always in such a position like this, but I saw you guys fight in the Battle of Knot. At least I saw the others, just maybe not you. And it's always nice to see another member.
You seem nervous.
No, it's just I get this tick every time I get nervous.
Oh.
So he's nervous.
Oh.
You didn't say like. So you're nervous? No, I get this tick when I'm nervous. So you're nervous.
I'm not always like this, man. And you're not there, Hugh.
I know, but I'm still playing out your fuck up on that.
I'm playing into being a nervous character.
Nah, you fucked up.
No, he's Tommy June. He's nervous right now.
Yeah, but you said he wasn't nervous.
You ever?
I wasn't nervous, but I'm nervous.
Jesus.
Enough.
I'm just saying you fucked up.
I wasn't nervous.
Called you up.
But now I'm even more nervous.
Oh my god.
Fenrir looks at
It was nothing.
Did you ever think about visiting the Dungeon Initiative?
Oh, I did a little while ago. Just kind of passing through. I didn't get to see all of you guys. You might have just not been home at the time. I don't think you're bad people. I think you're good people. I know it because I've seen it happen.
That's good. I try not to be too overwhelming sometimes, but it's kind of hard for me.
Where did you come from?
The old world.
My grandparents are from the old world. When
Oh?
I came here. Yeah. I always wondered what my life would have been like if I was born there instead of here. It was even weirder after rose golds and the blood screams and all that. Started to make all the rules around here. Or at least it just seems confusing.
So wait, you telling me Godfrey's not in charge?
No, Godfrey's definitely the king. I mean, the whole campaign before Rose Gold decided to drop out, I guess doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. But I think Rose Gold is doing good. Maybe. I probably shouldn't be talking too much about this stuff. I'm sorry. Kind of ramble on sometimes.
You're fine.
Can you sign my armor?
I could do so in kind of a strange way.
He takes off one of his arm cuffs and he like passes it to you.
Fenrir kind of like with his sharper nails, he just kind of like makes this graze along it. I'm not very good at writing too much, but
No, but I'll always remember you did that. Thank you. And I kind of admires it. So what can you do?
I made sure it didn't harm the integrity of the armor still. Only had two top grades.
It's all good. I'll have another one at home. I'll just put this one up on a stand somewhere. What can you do anyways?
He looks around. Is there like a decent sized building, for example?
Oh, I mean, aside from the castle itself, but you do notice that the other guard, he's come outside and he's like waving over at Tommy, and Tommy kind of like looks disappointed. Oh man, maybe next time, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, man. Maybe I'll be an initiative member one day. He holds up his hand to shake yours.
I wouldn't be against it.
Put in a good word for me, okay?
We could definitely use more help out there.
I hope it all works out for you guys. We really do.
Yeah.
Come on.
Thanks for the bit of information, though.
Yeah.
I'll act like you never said anything.
He like looks like a little terrified, realizing that he might have said too much, but isn't sure, and then he just kind of like awkwardly walks back toward the initiative. Once there, the guards called up everybody who's like asleep or at rest currently, and he says, "The court's ready to see all of you. You ready?"
Yep.
So enough.
He goes over, knocks on the doors. They get pulled open by the other guards. They let you guys pass through, and then they take position behind you guys as you're led back out into the hall. You guys notice that a fair amount of people have left the hall. They seem to have just dispersed, and there's like maybe about half the crowd, including Ashley and Lord Lockhart. They have left with the troop. In their place, now you all notice that there is the woman dressed in blue seated there, watching all of you guys from the back row, along with the remainder of the lords and ladies that are still remaining. Omen, Kato, and Jim are seated in the same place. Kato looks like he's just wide-eyed, staring off into nothing as you guys approach. Ona like goes up to him, puts her hand on his shoulder, gets his attention, and he just smiles at her. Yeah, you guys are led there, and there are seats for each of you, again, like before. You're asked to all have a seat at this time. Omen kind of leans in. You guys didn't get into any other trouble while you were out there, right? He leans back, and he looks over at LaFay, and he like taps her on the shoulder. Hey.
LaFay. She looks at him.
I need you to do me a favor. Don't say a thing. Okay? You understand, right? You trust me, right?
Do I have a choice, really?
I'm going to take that as a yes. He looks over at Hugh, and he says, Do me and the rest of your friends a favor. Try not to say anything. I got your back. No matter what happens. Don't do anything reckless. You understand?
I can't promise you anything, but I will do my best.
That's when we all wrap our shackles around his neck and strangle him.
And I proceed to break every single one with my teeth.
Godfrey stands and he approaches the stand and he says, though not all are in accordance with this decision, it has been decided, in collaboration with my father's creation of the Dungeon Initiative, collaboration with the acquisitions team. We recognize the Dungeon Initiative to be a force of good, with people intended to bring justice, maintain order, and keep peace for our people. However, it cannot be allowed to continue to act in its own accordance. Therefore, the initiative members and its organization will remain disbanded until further notice. Until then, you are not to act on major wars, events, political matters until requested or approved by this council and overseen by Omen Drawn and Acquisitions Incorporated. LaFay, Silverstain. Until we can prove your innocence to the murder of citizens within a town, to cities that you have completed bounty work, Acquisitions Incorporated has agreed to assist you in a recollection of this time. Our seer, Cassandra, cannot for sure see the vision of you committing these atrocities aside from killing the bounties that have been posted. You will have 1 month to gather evidence of your innocence. Otherwise, there will be another proceeding in another month's time. Is that understood?
Yes.
The town and the school you have formed in the last few years has flourished and grown and provided a home for those who needed it, including a school for young ones to train and practice in their natural gifts and abilities, something of which has inspired other schools to begin in their regions. This town and its proceedings will be looked over by Arnold Bloodscreen, who will take charge as Major Domo of the school, along with the safety and proceedings of the initiative people. Acquisitions must consult and set up missions. They must consult us before the initiative can reform or act. And they cannot perform these duties without an assigned member of the capital. Until then, Eddard Stormbane, Fenrir Wolfenstein.
Wolzenbane.
Wolfenbane, sorry. my brain went to the game. Zoe Nalani are free to reside within the initiative or in a place they call their own, and cannot represent themselves as initiative members unless appointed by the court. Is this understood?
Understood.
I guess I'm an adventurer again. That's fine.
Edard?
Yes, Your Grace.
As for Hugh Mungos, the only evidence that we have currently is from the perspective of Cassandra. Please stand.
I stand.
Cassandra approaches and she stands like next to Godfrey, and the other mage to her opposite side comes up with what looks like a giant glass orb. He holds it out, and Cassandra places her hand upon it. And her eyes go white, and you guys start to see a swirling of colors, kind of like clouds and stuff like that, forming and dissipating. And then it starts to kind of formulate what looks like your own perspective, Hugh, on the back of the wagon.
Oh, great.
How you snuck up, grabbed the one guy, pushed him off, and then followed up by pushing the lady. The worst of it is how it seems to kind of slow down, and you hear the snap and break as the old lady falls off.
I pretend to have a shocked look on my face. Like, oh my god. I just like a shock of, oh my god, and disbelief is like, no, this can't be happening.
Through this, the vision exchanges perspectives to what looks like a perspective of a man or someone looking down at the body of the old woman, and they fall down and they begin to grasp at it, and then they shout out, and you realize that it's the perspective of the old man.
Oh.
Cassandra breaks out of this trance and she kind of stumbles back, kind of gasping for air, and her eyes, like, they seem kind of like they're stuck for a moment, and she blinks them wildly until they come back into place. And then she just kind of composes herself and, like, stands back. Godfrey, looking to you, says, "You, Mungus, are to be held prisoner here of the capital under the power of my name, Godfrey Stormbane, until we find evidence that proves you innocent. You are under arrest." And the guards move up to take you in.
I look back at my group. I catch you on the flip side, guys.
Ona, like, grabs at Hugh's waist and, like, kind of, like, holds on to him as the guards approach. And she's like, "Let's go."
Let's let him go for now.
She lets go, and the guards take you, by each shoulder, and they kind of walk you up in between the space of the table and to where Godfrey's standing. He comes from around the podium, And he looks you over and he says, "Is there anything you'd like to say for yourself before you are carried out?"
No.
He nods to the guards and they proceed to take you off to the left. And you're brought through a couple of double doors, and that's the last that you guys see of Hugh as he's led out of the courthouse, or the hall. Godfrey looking you all over. You were all relieved. And this case is now dismissed.
I'm gonna suddenly flex and like break the shackles.
Jesus Christ.
The rest of you, they start to undo your shackles. The people behind you begin to kind of shuffle out, being commanded to leave first before you guys are released from the shackles. The guard going up to Fenrir, they notice that it's broken, and they just kind of like shrug and just take the remaining pieces and walk off. If you guys would like to make perception checks here, you can.
Can I look back up at that lady in blue?
She's behind you guys, but yes. Make a perception check.
24.
19.
Need an 11.
Fen got an 11.
Looking around, Fen, you don't notice her. But you do notice Godfrey taking Jada's hand. She like kind of gets led off towards his room behind the throne. You notice that she is like kind of looking off towards where Hugh was taken, and she has this look of like concern and worry and maybe even frustration. Edward, you notice this as well, but you also notice that Carla Gray, Dorian's daughter, she was standing by the double doors to the hall, kind of looking in, and she looks at you when the proceeding ends, and she like runs off towards the guest rooms. And then Zoe, you're looking around, and you notice that the woman in blue, she looks right at you, smiles, and as she starts to turn, her face like changes, and she becomes a completely different woman and blends into the crowd and leaves with them.
Mm-hmm. She's gonna like rub at her eyes, a little bit confused by what she saw.
Omen kind of coming up to Eulifay with Jim right next to him. Kato, like with all his like paperwork in his arm, he's like looking over at you, Edward, like all nervous. Omen addresses Eulifay and he says, "So, we have 30 days to get this all figured out. Me and Omen are gonna put you to work with some of the best people we know. We're gonna find out the truth of what's been going on with you. So we have a suspicion that you weren't totally yourself at the time. We bought you the time to figure this out. You ready to go to work?"
Yeah.
Jim kind of goes like this. He's like, Jim doesn't hear a lot of positivity. Come on.
She just looks at him. Yes.
Like I said, that's as good as it gets. But Omen's just like looking at the rest of you. We're gonna figure out Hugh as well. At least what we can. But I don't know. That seeing eye trick that bitch has, it's really something. You alright, Edward?
Eric's kind of just been standing there, staring Oh, we're at the
That
party.
is silly.
I'll be fine.
The room begins to kind of clear out more and more. Are all of you dispersing from this room? Where are you guys going?
Fenrir's gonna walk up to Omen and Jim. Could I actually get you guys' assistance as well?
What's that?
Sweetwater.
Yes. We did agree to go ahead and take care of that, and we're gonna send some people there, and we're gonna make sure you guys get there as well.
All right.
Listen,
Thank you.
between you and me, they want those teleporting rings. They were destroyed. Got it?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He pats you on the stomach. Attaboy. Alright, guys. Give you some time here, 30 minutes. And we'll be out of here. And he heads out the back of the castle. Who's still in the hall? Is there anybody still left in the hall? Have you guys dispersed from here?
Zoe will still be in there, but
Okay. This place does clear out. The lords go into their rooms, and the ladies returning. The lords and ladies going back to their homes. People of importance go into the guest areas. There's a couple of guards that kind of remain, kind of making sure order stays here. If you're long enough there, you do see some maids and others come out to work and start to rearrange the room, putting the tables back and such.
I'd say during all that time, all that's going on around him, Edard's just been there, processing everything. Just even as everyone's going around and the maids and everything, he just hasn't moved from that spot.
Zoe's gonna walk over towards Edard and place her hand gently on his shoulder. Hey.
Eyes are still looking forward.
We should get going.
Owen comes up and takes your hand.
I just need a moment.
Promise us that you'll come home?
I'll be there.
She'll hold her hand out towards Ona. Let's go home for now, okay?
I'm assuming the room clears except for Edard.
Yep.
Fenrir's gonna wait outside.
Jesus.
Because the last time he left, something happened.
That's true.
Outside by the initiative or outside of the halls?
Outside of the halls, just nearby.
So while out there, the that one guard, Tommy.
Yeah.
He kind of comes up to you and he's just like, "Hey, at least you made it out, right?" What are you guys gonna do now?
Probably relax.
That sounds good. And he just kind of looks off across the front lawn of the castle and just gazes with you. Outside by the initiative, the balloon is being prepped, and you guys can hear the sounds of the keg pots moving around. Omen and Jim, they're leading LaFay onto the platform. That's when Zoe and Ona kind of walk out, and Ona's just like, We gotta figure out a way to help you, right?
We will.
You don't sound very confident.
I have more matters on my own mind right now, other than Hugh.
Do you think he did it? I mean, I guess we saw something, but how do we even know that's really him?
To be truthful, we will never know. He was a little bit of an interesting character.
She just doesn't say anything as she goes over to the platform where Omen, Jim, and LaFay are currently. And she looks over at LaFay as she approaches, and she rests her head on like your leg and just kind of like leans into you. Omen and Jim are talking about how Omen looks to you, LaFay, and says it's going to be a bit of a shock, okay? But you're probably not going to be home for a little while. We're going to need you to come with us so we can maybe go through a couple of steps, retrace your literal steps, and then figure out what steps to take next. Jim's just like, and it's good to take steps, because through steps, you can go on to the next milestone. And Omen's just like, shut the fuck up.
Zoe's just staring, like, what am I listening to?
Yeah, you're approaching and
Lupe's also looking at him like, bro. Like, stop.
Omen just tells Jim to shut the fuck up, and then he looks at you and says, where's Eddard and Fen? And we cut back over to Eddard in the hall. The place now empty. You can kind of hear Fen outside of the doors kind of discussing something with the guard. And you hear like footsteps approaching from behind you. And the voice says, "This life we lead is not easy, is it, Eddard?"
Do I recognize his voice?
It's Cassandra.
No, it really is not.
It was quite the surprise, hearing that you would be here, in these conditions.
Was it really?
Perhaps not. Perhaps all the paths are leading to this moment, and this is the beginning of something else.
Does Godfrey know what happened before?
He's confused. Maybe trying to accept the way things are now, and who he has to be. When he came to me, I thought that it was my end. His men looking for me in the woods. But he offered me a path that might redeem my name and a chance to be better than you were. Let's hope I never see you again outside of these walls. She turns from you and she heads out of the hall. Walking past Fenrir and the guard. The guard kind of like jumps when she passes and then like stands at attention. He like bows his head. But she doesn't seem to address him or Fenrir. She just continues off out onto the lawn and
They're kind of still standing there for more like thinks back to like the memories that he still has of Cassandra from before, and just kind of whispers to himself, "Not my Cassandra." Before he eventually just starts going toward where the initiative is to get his stuff all together. And the last thing he does before stepping out of the room is he kind of stares over at the throne, thinking of what would have been different if he did take that.
Fen, do you go off with him?
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep an eye on him.
So, the two of you back in the initiative room, gathering your things, heading out through the doors. And you do have a sense that there's someone at the on the south doors of the initiative room, as you and Fen are heading out the northern end to greet Omen and the others.
Not Fenrir?
No, not Fenrir. Do you want to look, or do you just proceed forward?
Look. Like, not making it too obvious.
Looking back, you do see Godfrey there. I did my best. At least I think I did what I was supposed to.
You did everything you could. That's all that matters.
Bloodscream wanted some of you dead.
I figured that much. Goes into his pocket. Going toward Godfrey, hands him a sending stone. I can't make up for things that happened before, but maybe if we just stay in contact with each other, we can work on things.
You know, this is considered contraband.
They don't have to know you're the king.
Guess we always have to walk a line of right and wrong, huh? Let's try to make a blessing out of these second chances.
I just kind of go in and just hug him.
He kind of doesn't like immediately like hug you back, but eventually like raises his arms, and the rest of the group you're seeing them from the double doors of the initiative. He like grips you tight and then just like pushes off from you, and then just like walks away. And you hear him say, "Goodbye, brother." And then he just kind of keeps walking off and out of the initiative hall. The sounds of the battle balloon go off, alerting and letting everyone know it'll soon be departing. You can kind of hear the rest of the group calling out, Jim urging you to get on board. Let's get the hell out of here, come on.
I go get all my stuff together, and before like actually getting on, like I just put on like all my regular gear and feel more comfortable that way. And then get onto the balloon.
And as the platform rises, you guys can kind of see like, you know, the doors of the initiative getting closed by the guards. And as you kind of reach the second level across the crest of the castle, you can see guards and stuff walking around that second floor, looking up at the battle balloon as it takes off. And amongst them, you can notice that Bloodscream is amongst them, kind of like staring up at you guys with this dark look in his eyes. And as the battle balloon begins to rise and the capital begins to grow smaller beneath you guys, you float off into an uncertain future.
Oh, almost forgot.
clicks off. Blood screen. No, I'm just kidding.
And you guys fly off. And that is the end of tonight's session.
No post-credit scene of you or something.
Funny you mentioned that. Hugh.
Yes.
Down in your cell, you are alone. There's like a dripping noise coming from somewhere, but you can't tell where. You've been here for what you can only guess has been a couple of hours. You've been stripped of your armor and other items. You're down to kind of just like your shirt and your mimic and a pair of pants. Having seen the mimic, some of the like the medical people that work there, they were telling you that you were an abomination.
And
and
that's what I said about their mothers when I fucked them.
Yeah, pretty much all that happened, and they're just like, we're concerned for you, is what you're saying. Like, this is wrong. But like aside from like the dripping noise off in the distance, there's like every once in a while there's a. But you hear like a clanking noise, followed by a rattle of keys, and you hear some footsteps approaching, and there's like a light kind of getting closer. You hear a whisper saying, "Wait by the door." And you see that the blonde girl, Jada, approaches your cell. And she's wearing like the same pink kind of gown, except this is like more like a robe covering her, and she has like a hoodie on. And she comes up to the cell, and she says, "Well, that didn't turn out the way we wanted, now did it?"
No.
Well, we do have a wedding to attend, so we can't let this all go wrong. I think maybe I can help you.
And how would that be?
I have a lot of charm. And we end there.
He's evil. The rose goes are evil.